so what we're going to talk about today are things that will hopefully help you build your character, which is the way that someone thinks or behaves. It's who you are. Helps you with your reputation, which is your credibility. It's who others think you are. And helps you with your brand, which ultimately is who the consumer believes that you are. We're going to talk about KIP competency today, about excelling in the areas of communication, integrity, and professionalism. We'll start with integrity. We have a short video here that we're going to play for you now.
Integrity. Integrity, said author C.S. Lewis, is doing the right thing even when no one is looking. Integrity is a foundational moral virtue and the bedrock upon which good character is built. Acting with integrity means understanding, accepting, and choosing to live in accordance with one's principles, which will include honesty, fairness, and decency. A person of integrity will consistently demonstrate good character by being free of corruption and hypocrisy. Integrity is revealed when people act virtuously regardless of circumstance or consequences. This often requires moral courage. Indeed, integrity is the critical connection between ethics and moral action.
All right, so now we're moving on to professionalism. There are 8 aspects of professionalism on your screen. We think of professionalism that it's not the job you do, it is how you do the job. And so the 8 aspects of professionalism are competency. This is your abilities, whether or not they match the requirements of the role. There's knowledge, your ability to know what is necessary for the role or being up to date with the information necessary to do it. Conscientiousness, which is showing that you care about every aspect of your job. Integrity, being true to your word and having strong personal accountability. Respect, showing kindness to the people around you regardless of their state. Emotional intelligence, having strategies to manage your emotions. Appropriateness, knowing what's appropriate in every situation. And confidence, which is the belief in one's abilities. We're going to hone in on a few of these today. First, we're going to see whether or not we believe that this candidate is professional.
Amy, it says you are trained in technology. That's very good. Are you adept at Excel?
No.
PowerPoint?
No.
Publisher?
Not really.
Exactly in what area of technology are you proficient?
Snapchat, Pinterest, Instagram, Vine, Twitter. You know the big ones.
I'm surprised you didn't say Facebook.
That's for old people, like my parents. That's funny.
Well, Amy, when you're working for me, you have to have those kind of research skills because I'll send you things for you to comb through and get the answers and send them to me. So for that, you've got to be really good at technology.
For stuff like that, no problem. I'll just ask Siri.
You'll just ask Siri?
You know, Siri tell me this, Siri find me that. We're all good at getting you the answers.
Tell Siri I want you ready to go at 8 sharp each and every morning.
I don't understand
What don't you understand?
what you just said.
You don't understand be ready to go?
No. You said 8, right?
Yes.
8 like in the morning 8?
Yes, in the morning.
Yeah. That kind of doesn't work for me. Who gets up at 8?
I do.
I Skype with my French boyfriend in Paris until like 3 in the morning. I don't even get to Starbucks until like 10, where I order my grande chai tea latte, 3 pumpkin milk, light water, 2% foam, extra hot but not too hot. So if it's okay, I work best in the morning at 10:45.
Wow. Amy, I don't think we're going to be a good fit.
Why are you so negative? I can sense your hostilities, and right now I am not feeling very safe. I've been here for over 5 minutes, and the only nice thing you have said to me was nice resume, which I typed all night for this meeting with you. You've given me no guidance, no validation, no
director somewhere?
HR director?
Yes, I need to speak to someone. I may have to take off today as a mental health day.
Take the day off. Amy, look at me. You don't work here.
Are you firing me?
Okay, yes.
So yeah, I would say that Amy is not professional.
Right.
She doesn't have appropriateness, emotional intelligence, confidence, respect. Some of the things that matter when it comes to professionalism, really all of these things flow into our ability to make a first impression. And first impressions, they say it takes 7 seconds to make a first impression. That's a very short amount of time for someone to size you up and decide how they will deal with you. And some aspects of a first impression that would help us to make a really positive first impression are the things we see on our screen. So setting your intention. When you're going into any interaction with someone, you want to, ahead of time, know what you want them to leave thinking about you. So if I'm going into an interview, if I'm going into a meeting, or if I'm meeting with a professor, or if I'm meeting with someone for funding, how do I want this to end? And when I leave, what do I want them to think about me? What do I want them to know about me? That will help to inform really everything I do, how I talk, how I dress, the information I present. Once I set my intention and I know what I'm hoping that I leave with, or the impression that I leave them with, it will help to inform how I show up there. Next, you want to arrive on time. There's nothing worse than arriving late. Nothing kills a first impression faster than showing that you disrespect someone's entire time. Then you want to dress how you would like to be addressed, right? And so there's a lot of communication and thoughts, schools of thoughts around how people should dress, and those norms are changing over time, where we used to come from a very formal way of dressing and versus the career fields and things like that, to now it's really, really informal, and a lot of people are finding a juxtaposition with trying to decide how they should be showing up in these spaces. But really, the best way to inform how you dress is how would you like to be addressed. When you leave that room, when you leave that interaction, when you leave that building, what do you want them to think about you? And does your dress add to that conversation, support that thought, or does it detract from it? So when I'm meeting with someone, I want them to think of me as a competent individual, an expert in my field. So does my dress align with that, or is my dress an obstacle to those thought process? We're going to take a beat and play a little game I like to call Find the Fit. Find the fit. Oftentimes in all cultures, whether it's a career center, whether it's a job opportunity, whether it's a partnership you're making in business, you're trying to see, is this a good fit for me? What fits with what I'm looking for? And oftentimes, how we show up in a space either fits or it doesn't fit, right? Your presence, your dress, things like that. So what we see here on the screen is a gorgeous, adorable baby. This baby needs someone to care for him or her during the day, and someone who is conscientious, who is detail-oriented, who is creative, who is playful, who is upbeat, who is responsible, who is safety-conscious, who's on time. Which of these would fit if you're just judging off of appearances?
The second from the right. The lady, the second from the right.
The second from the right. Yep, she fits.
Bottom left hand.
Yep. With the purse, with the bag.
Those two.
Who doesn't fit?
Middle,
Mm-hmm.
lower middle.
Yep, the lower middle. She doesn't fit. She doesn't look like she's ready to play with the child. She's look like she's maybe ready to go out with friends. Who else does not fit?
I can't tell what the girl above her
Mm-hmm.
having her hand.
I can't see it either, but she doesn't look like she's ready to play with the child. She looks like she would suffocate a child with all the plastic that she has on her body, right? So if I was going to pick and say who were the fits for this, I would say that they would be the fits, right? They look like they fit, right, with what is needed. Next, we have this employer, this lady right here with this laptop or this tablet. She is an employer, and she is looking for someone to work in her business. You can infer what the dress code, what the environment is like, by how she is presenting, right? So based off how she is presenting, where is the fit? So who fits and who does not fit based off of how she presents?
The bottom
Bottom two, in the middle.
yellow,
Mm-hmm.
white.
The yellow, blue, and white fit. Mhm.
It's not blue jeans territory.
It's not blue jeans territory, not the way she's presenting. That's right.
Midriff.
Shirt,
Yep.
shirt and tie,
Mm-hmm. Shirt and tie.
the green
The green and the brown could.
Yeah, the pantsuit would. So I agree. The pantsuit is kind of on the line for me just because it might be a little, I don't know, extroverted for the taste of the company, but it could be a fit. I mean, she's technically wearing a suit, and she's all covered up. She looks like she could be a great professional. So I would say that those are the fit. We have this gentleman right here in this blue suit. Again, the person who is providing the opportunity sets the expectation of the culture in that environment. So by his presentation, who is the fit? Find the fit. Or who does not fit?
The lady with the cut off top doesn't fit.
The lady with the cut off top, right? In the holy jeans, right?
Does not fit.
Sunglasses.
The guy in the sunglasses,
Yeah.
right?
The guy with the loose tie.
The guy with the loose tie, exactly. The lady with the pink shirt. Now, if I was in an art studio, a dance studio,
Right.
I would think the lady with the crop top would be a culture fit.
Right.
There. She looks like she's somewhere in the creative arts, potentially, right? These all fit somewhere. They just don't look like they fit in this environment.
Right.
So I agree. I say that those bottom three were the fit, right?
Good.
Now, this lady right here with the leather and the glasses, she is the employer. She sets the tone for the office. So based on how she presents, who is the fit? Find the fit. And also tell me who would not be a good fit.
The guy with the tie doesn't fit.
The guy with the tie doesn't fit, right?
And the lady just beside him,
Mm-hmm.
the rest of them fits.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the lady in the blue with the necklace, she may not fit.
Right.
And the one with the suit next to her may not fit.
Just depends
They-
on what they do.
Right. It seems a little professional. I mean, you know, tight.
Because she's setting the tone for the expectations on what would be considered normal in her environment. So yes, based off that, I would say that those are the fit. And so when you're going into any environment, you want to do your due diligence to infer and to find out information on what their culture is like internally, and then you want to align yourself with that. So you want to set your expectations, and then you want to address how you want to be addressed, and you want to present yourself in a way that makes you a natural culture fit for that environment. What comes to mind when you see this? They want money, yeah. All my time is what comes to mind when I see that. All right, Warren Buffett says it takes 20 years to build a reputation and about 5 minutes to ruin it. And if you think about that, you would do things a little bit differently. And so what we're going to talk about are ways to support character, which is the way that you think about yourself. It's who you are. Your reputation, which is who others think you are. And then your brand, which for those of you who end up in business, will be what your consumers think you are. So we're going to talk about competency. Competency in the areas of communication, integrity, and professionalism. We're going to skip the video on that. Integrity is literally just doing what you say you're going to do all of the time with that bell, period, full stop, right? Now we're moving on to professionalism. When you think of the word professionalism, what do you think of? If someone said you are a professional, what are they saying about you? You're good at what you do. Yeah. Professionalism has these core components, right? It's confidence, conscientiousness, respect, competency, the ability to do what you're supposed to be doing at a high level very well consistently. Appropriateness, knowing what is appropriate in all scenarios at all times. Knowledge, emotional intelligence, and integrity. Professionalism is not the job you do, it's how you do the job. Professionalism is like the lines on the highway. It literally tells you where you are supposed to be, and more importantly, it tells other people how to deal with you, right? So if you walk into a room, the way you walk into the room and the way you provide that first impression informs how I'm going to deal with you after that, right? Because the way you present sets some natural and subconscious boundaries on how we're going to deal with each other. Oh, I didn't want to play that. I wonder if it'll play. We'll have to send this guy to you. So, first impressions. Do you know how many seconds it takes to make a first impression? Or how many minutes? How long do you think it takes to make a first impression? 3 minutes. 7 seconds. 7 seconds is how long it takes to make a first impression. So here are 7 tips on how you can improve your first impressions. You should set your intention. So when you're walking into any place, whether it's a classroom, whether you're interviewing for a job, whether you're looking for funding, when you're starting your business, you want to already decide on the front end what you're hoping to get on the back end. Like when I leave here, what do I hope they know about me? What do I hope they think about me? And what do I hope that I have assured them of? Next, you want to arrive on time. There's nothing worse than arriving late. It kills the first impression. It's really hard to come back from that because you basically said, I don't care about your time, and me showing up when I want to is more important than your time. Then you want to dress how you want to be addressed. We're very much in a your body, your choice kind of demographic, and while that is true, you should know that when we're setting our intention, it informs our outfits as well, right? So what it does is it says, when I leave this communication or this meeting or this whatever with you, what do I want you to think about me? And did how I showed up in that space physically, did it affirm that or did it detract from that, right? So we're gonna play a little game. It's called Find Fit, right? We're gonna find the culture fit for these organizations. So we'll start with the baby. This family needs somebody to care for that baby, right? They're looking for someone who's responsible, who arrives on time, who's mature, who's creative, who's playful, who communicates really well. Who looks like the fit? Or how many of these look like the fit, and who is not the fit for this position? Just based off of your first impression. You know nothing about them, this is just how they rolled up in the scene. Who seems like they might be good fits for these roles? The one with the purse, yeah. Anyone else seem like a good fit? Who is not a good fit? The black puffer, right? She's in her in plastic. She's about to suffocate the child. Who else seems like they're not a good fit?
Midriff.
Midriff chick. She looks like she wants to go hang with her friends. Probably not, doesn't look like she's maybe the most conscientious person. So these 4, I would say, if I'm just going off first impressions, right? Knowing nothing about them, I would say they look like they would be a culture fit for what that family needs. Let's move on. This lady with the tablet is the employing party, right? Based off of her, you're going to decide what the rest of the company is like, right? So she's in a suit, she looks pretty formal. Based off of that, who is a fit for her company? Which of these candidates would be a good fit? And based off of her, who would not be a good fit? White t-shirt dude, not a good fit. Who else is not a good fit? Or who is a good fit? Blue shirt, good fit.
Yellow blazer.
Yellow blazer, good fit. Anyone else? Yeah, I would say those. This paisley looking, whatever this is, kind of suit, it's kind of on the fence for me because they seem very buttoned up based off of her appearance, but it could be a good fit, right? And so those are the 4 that I would say, just off of judgment, could be a good culture fit. Whoever is interviewing you, whoever you're meeting with, whoever is the one running the thing, they're the ones showing you by their words and their actions and the way they show up what the rest of that organization may be like. You're going to want to be really good at reading that. That's how you get into good doors. This guy is interviewing for his company. He's the hiring manager. Who is a good fit and who is not a good fit based off of first impressions? Pink shirt, not a good fit. Yeah.
Sunglasses.
Sunglasses, yep, not a good fit. Jeans, not a good fit. Now, I will say about jeans, girl, that if this was a dance company, an art company, something having to do with creativity, I would think that she would be a good fit, right? She looks like she's in that vein, but for this dude, based off how he's presenting, not a good fit. Anyone else? So I would say these are the fits, right? Now, the lady with the leather jacket is the CEO, right? And she is hiring for her company, and this is how she rolled into the interview. Who of these are not a good fit based off of how she presents? Blue suit, yeah. Who else? Black hoodie.
Not black blazer.
Black blazer. I would say these look like they could potentially be a culture fit, right? First impressions are very, very important. And so dress how you want to be addressed. Now, make a distinction between how you show up at work versus like your life. Nobody is trying to reorder your life and your fashion choices for your downtime. But when you're at work, they are building a whole culture. They put money into building an internal culture, and you want to make sure that you're fit for that. You want to be pleasant. Nobody really has time to peel back the onion and wait for 7 minutes for you to decide to warm up and smile. When you're trying to make a good first impression, you have to come with it, and being pleasant is a great way to do that. You also want to initiate the greeting. It seems very childish when we walk in and always have to be spoken to. Part of adulting is that we walk into a room and we own the space that we're in. So when I walk into a room, it doesn't matter if I look like I'm 42 or if I look like I'm 12. I show that I'm the adult in the room because when I walk into the room and I greet someone. Hey, how are you doing? Hi, my name is Erika. What's your name? Or hi, it's nice to see you again. Where would I sit down, right? I initiate the greeting. And then you want to mirror the behaviors of the person that is going to be your direct contact, right? So you walk into an interview and they just start walking around. Here's the break room, here's the blood. If you were to go take a seat in the corner, you would not be mirroring that person. They're clearly trying to show you something, so you want to mirror their actions. So you want to walk around where they're walking and look at what they're looking at. Now, that person brings you into the room and they immediately go sit at a big board table and start shuffling their papers. To mirror that, you would most likely go find a seat at that table and get your interview stuff together, right? So you want to mirror, and then you want to end well. First impressions inform whatever's going to happen after that. But last impressions are lasting impressions. So you do a wonderful presentation, or you meet with someone in class and you knock it out of the park, but then when it's time to leave, you're really ratchet. You don't speak well, you don't smile, you're like shuffling, you look all nervous. That is the actual lasting impression, because it's literally the last thing that they would have seen of you. So how you leave a space is just as important as how you show up in a space, because it's what they will remember about you. You're going in for a job interview, I would suggest you have a card or have a business card. And you don't even need to know who you're interviewing with or who you're meeting with. Say you're seeking funding for a business or anything like that. I would just have a card that said, thanks so much for your time, I appreciate you today. Or I leave and I immediately email back, I really appreciate the time you took with me to tell me about your business and to show me around the company or to introduce me to this contact. It was a pleasant experience. I hope to hear from you soon. Lasting impression. As a person that interviews well over 700 people a year, I will tell you that I remember every single person that writes back to me after our interview, because that's how much it does not happen. As a person who has interviewed people overseas all the time, I will tell you that we are outpaced by people overseas, because the level of professionalism that they put forward to those types of communication are 10 to 1 what we do here in the States, right? We do these like raggedy cover letters, our like resume, we show up however we want to, and we really want though like that 80K a year, we really want that opportunity, we really want to be on that team. They fully show up. And so how we make these first impressions is really going to be important, in learning to master that in whatever area you go into, whether it's sports, politics, social sciences, business. It's going to be really, really important. Communication. When you're emailing someone, email is a form of formal communication. It is not informal communication. So when you're writing an email, you want to check it regularly. You want to have formal communication. So you want to avoid irrelevant details. Avoid text talk. Do you know what text talk is? And yeah, Yes, exactly. So it's when people, you send them an email and they write back, yeah, got it. And then they send you another one. Actually, I forgot. Resend it. No, not that one, right? And they send all these like short things. It's not proofread, no grammar. That's text talk. You're gonna want to avoid that. Write incomplete sentences. Spell check, proofread, be respectful, communicate, remember your digital footprint, and avoid abstraction. This is really important. It has well to do with our social climate in the US. So abstraction is the process of taking away or removing characteristics from something to reduce it to a set of essential characteristics. Has anyone ever heard of the Milgram experiment? Anybody? I don't know if it'll play for you.
A decade earlier, psychologist Daniel Milgram had also looked at how we respond to authority. In order to understand how people were induced to obey unjust regimes and participate in atrocities such as the Holocaust, he set up an experiment. Volunteers were told they were taking part in scientific research to improve memory.
You open those and tell me which group works for you.
Separated by a screen, the teacher would ask the learner questions in a word game and administer an electric shock when the answer was incorrect. He was told to increase the voltage with each wrong answer.
Cloud, horse, rock, house. Answer. Wrong. 150 volts. Answer, horse.
Experiment. That's all. Get me out of here. Get me out of here, please.
Continue, please. Go right ahead. The experiment requires you to continue, teacher. Please continue.
Participants didn't know that the learner was really an actor.
Okay, so I'm going to summarize this for you. So they put this out. It was only white males, right? They would do these experiments. They would come in, they'd pay you $4, and they said, one of you is going to be the teacher, one of you is going to be the student. You get this piece of paper, so it's you and you, I give you a piece of paper. It's supposed to be random. One of you is the student, one of you is the teacher, right? You go into a room, you're separated by a board, and on that board there's voltage. And every time that person is supposed to memorize a list and say it back in order. When they get it wrong, you hit like number 1 on that board. Number 1 sends voltage that's hooked to the wrist of the learner on the other side. So it shocks them, right? And as they keep getting it wrong, the voltage goes higher and higher and higher. Right, all the way to 350 volts, and a voltage that would kill a human, right? So you put this in, right? He's the student, so he gets it wrong, he elicits the shock, and he's over here, right? He's screaming, hollering, and then what happens is you can't see the learner, you can only hear them. So then the learner starts saying, that really, really hurts, let me out of here, I didn't sign up for this, I really didn't want to do this, somebody come get me out of here, this is really hurting me. They start screaming, they start crying, and then the teacher says, we have to let him out of there. Do you hear him? And the authority figure is a man in a white coat, who they assume to be a doctor. And he says the experiment must continue. Please continue. The experiment must go on, right? Do you know in 70% of these cases, they went all the way till they killed the person on the other side? 70%, that's 7 out of 10 men. What they didn't know is that the learner who was getting the shock was actually an actor. So he was never being shocked. But that person didn't know it. And unbeknownst to them, thinking that it was real life, they still would have killed. 7 of them would have been murders, right? He did this because it was after the Holocaust, and he wanted to decide whether or not the people in the United States were more educated and more advanced and evolved than what had happened in Germany. And what he found from this is that when we cannot see someone, even if we can hear them and hear their pain and their distress, we still have the capacity to cause them harm when we're not physically in their presence. How does this affect us with email communication? Because that's the dispensation we live in, where people say all kinds of things over email, text messages, social media. You have to understand that the impact of what you're saying could still potentially harm someone, and you should never take yourself out of the position where you see that person as a human. Every email is going to another human. Every text message is still going to a whole breathing human with family and friends and feelings. And so you want to be mindful of that and avoid abstraction when you're sending email communication. Text communication, you should use proper English. You should start with a salutation. Personally, I respond to no emails where someone does not greet me first. A text message where someone doesn't greet me first. They text me and they say, Erika, what time do I need to be there Friday? I respond back, good morning. And I say nothing else until you write me back and say good morning. How rude. Like, I would never walk up to someone and be like, what are you eating for dinner? Like, I would always start with the greeting, and a text message should be no different. So you start with the greeting, good morning, good afternoon, happy Taco Tuesday, it doesn't matter. But some type of greeting, and then state the business. Are we still meeting for lunch on Friday at 10? Then end with a complimentary close. I look forward to hearing from you. Talk to you later, right? You want to spell check it. If it's professional, like your boss, your partner, things like that in business, you're going to want to refrain from using slang or acronyms or familiar language. Familiar language is sis, hun, babe, doll, things like that. That's a great way to get fired. Next, there's a video which we can send you a link for because you have to move along, about the recipe for communication. All communication should have these five ingredients, which is clarity, providing, making sure that it's clear, brevity, making sure that it's concise, context, making sure that it's relevant, impact, making sure that it's memorable, and value, making sure that the person who heard the conflict felt like it was worth their time to listen to you, right? Lastly, conflict. How do you know that you're in conflict? If we're about to be in a thing, what cues you to the fact that we're literally about to be in an argument? Or we're about to experience conflict? How do you disagree on something?
Voices get raised.
The voices may get raised. Body language changes. How do you feel within yourself when you realize like you're about to experience conflict? Like someone's upset with you, you're like head first into a disagreement. How do you notice that within your body? For some people, like their stomach gets like weird. It feels like they kind of have butterflies in their stomach. For some people, their head, like they feel like they can hear their heartbeat in their ears. Some people get sweaty when they realize like we're about to have a disagreement or we're fighting or you're saying aggressive things. It's important that you notice within yourself what conflict looks like to you so that you can know when maybe I'm like reeling up or riling up like I'm having a conflict and I may not be in conflict. All conflict is just an unmet need. And so I encourage you to reframe it. Conflict is not bad. Conflict is literally someone communicating an unmet need. And one of two things are going to happen. Either you're going to meet the need and negotiate meeting the need, or you cannot meet the need and you're just going to have to manage the unmet need, right? We're going to have to manage expectations. Ways to deal with that are always communication. Instead of sidestepping conflict because it makes you feel uncomfortable, you should get really, really good at just walking to conflict. Just communicating it through it. The people who can handle conflict and manage their emotions are always the strongest person in the room. If it's between you and me and I can manage my emotions and you cannot, regardless of your weight, height, or disposition, I am stronger than you in that situation because I have control over my emotions. And so, ways that we deal with conflict. There's a book called Radical Candor. I don't know if you've read it. It's a good book. And so she talks about different ways that people communicate through conflict. You will either care a lot or don't care. And you will either talk to them directly or you won't talk. If you care a lot, but you don't talk, you have ruinous empathy. So it's empathy that does nothing, and the result is ignorance because you didn't communicate what the problem was or what the need was, and there's no change. If you don't care and you don't talk, you have manipulative insincerity, which deals with and results in mistrust between the two people, no change in the situation. If you do communicate with them, but you really don't care about them, you have obnoxious aggression, right? You're really aggressive. So you're telling them all the things, but not from a point of empathy because you don't care, right? The result is defensiveness and little change. Why little change? There will be some change because if anybody puts pressure on you, the first thing you want to do when you get out from under pressure is you shift, right? I drop a huge weight on top of you and you are in position to handle it. You're going to shift your body to handle the weight, right? So people may change in that moment because it's uncomfortable because you were aggressive and obnoxious, but it's not going to result in lasting change. And then you have compassionate candor. This is where you actually care about the person and you communicate with them directly. This is how we have profound change and we end up with growth. I'm going to encourage you to do that. If you've never heard of those words, you may know these better. Assertive, aggressive, passive, and passive-aggressive. How many of you would consider yourself aggressive? Anybody consider themselves passive? Anybody consider themselves passive aggressive? Anybody consider themselves assertive? Yeah. Aggressive individuals express themselves with irritation or anger. They're generally loud. They reduce the self-esteem of others. They say no reactively. Their aim in any conversation is to win. You said what? Absolutely, yeah. Passive aggressive, they won't be honest. Passive aggressive to me, passive aggressive individuals are right next to lying, right? Because they can't be trusted to say what needs to be said. They don't answer honestly because they're so passive aggressive. They would rather gossip than confront you, right? So they'd rather talk about you than talk to you and confront the issue. They evade problems all the time. And their goal is just literally that, to evade the problem. That's my other thing, sorry. When we have people who are passive, which some of you said that you are, and I appreciate your honesty in that, passive individuals are looking to keep the peace. Mm-hmm. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Looking to keep the peace. No drama. No drama. Keep the peace. But what I need you to realize is that when you're passive, you are avoiding the issue, so it's a faux peace, right? If conflict is an unmet need, then being passive says, I would prefer that you just not tell me the need. I prefer you pretend you don't have a need, and I prefer that I just act like I already know it, and we can just stay peaceful. But it is a faux peace, because it's not an honest relationship. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then I'm not passive.
You're not passive.
That's good.
I appreciate that. Assertive, so if passive is to avoid, if aggressive is to win, assertive is to understand. Their whole goal in communication, my friend right there, is to understand. Mm-hmm. It's to understand and be understood. Mm-hmm. They can be kind and firm. They can say no and be helpful. They can have empathy for others and still have empathy and respect for themselves. If you are not in that quadrant, I encourage you to do some self-study and find ways to get yourself in that quadrant. Assertive people rule the world, right? Yes. It's how you get things done. Whether they're the CEOs or the managing HRs, they are almost always the ones that are moving the needles because they are the ones who communicate effectively and they have emotional intelligence and do know that EQ is always better than IQ. All right? Lastly, we have strategies for conflict. So if you get in conflict, you have to handle it. A way to do that is this model. Oftentimes when we get in conflict, it's not because we're scared. It's really just because we don't actually know what to say about it. Like, how would I address that? This is a really good model to consider. When, situation, and behavior, then impact. So, the person I work with is really moody. When she sees me for the first time in the morning or is beside me grabbing coffee, she never speaks or even acknowledges my presence. It makes me really uncomfortable, right? So if I was talking to her, I'd say, hey, when I see you in the morning, you never acknowledge my presence. It makes me feel like really insignificant, right? Or it makes me feel really inadequate, or it makes me feel insecure, or it makes me feel just unacknowledged, like I'm not like a human standing here. You ever been at a counter and you know that the person working the counter sees you and they just never acknowledge that you're standing there? Mm-hmm. It's really annoying, right? It feels like some kind of thing, and that's how it is when we don't communicate. Once you get and you communicate that, that person is gonna have something to say back to you, right? So you need to know how to continue with the conversation, not just to acknowledge that there is a problem, but how do I handle it once we're in the conversation? This is a really good thing. Think of it like Rolos. Did anybody ever eat Rolo, like the candy? Mm-hmm. It's chocolate, caramel candy as well. It's all the things. Anyway, so you recognize, so you say, I realize that this has been happening for a while and I haven't said anything to you, so that's my fault. It's my fault for letting this go for this long without saying anything to you, but when you don't let me off of work on time, it makes me feel like you do not value my time. And I would like to talk to you to see if we can come up with a solution to make sure that I'm getting out of work according to the schedule that we already put in place, right? Inevitably, that person's gonna have something to say back to you, and the conversation may not stay linear. They may go off on all kinds of tangents. Well, you remember that one time you did X, Y, and Z. what you want to do is restate the outcome. That's really important, and yes, I did do that, and I would be more than happy to talk about that later. But right now, I'd really like to see if we could come with a solution so that I can get off on time like it says on my schedule. Well, blah, blah, blah. I understand that, and that is also very valid, and I would love to discuss that. But right now, I would like to see if we can come to an agreement or come up with a solution so that I can get off of work on time as you put in my schedule, right? And so you want to just keep restating the thesis, keep restating the outcomes, keep restating the outcome so that you can work your way through that situation.
Question?
Yeah.
That absolutely is applicable in personal relationships, right?
Yes, it is. It's applicable in personal relationships. If you need scripts, here are a few. You can use these. Sometimes we have it in our heads, but we don't know actual words to say. And so these are some scripts that you could use to jumpstart a conversation or to reinforce it. Someone asking you to do something that's outside of your capacity, and you want to have empathy, you can just say, I see you have a lot on your plate, but I'm not best suited for that. Would it be helpful for me to see if I can put you in contact with someone who can help you with this? That's your nice way of saying it's not about to be me. But I can connect you with someone for whom they can help you, right? And finding ways to reinforce that boundary. It is really important in wherever areas you are in your life that you lead with integrity, you communicate effectively, and that you learn how to model professionalism. It will open doors for you. And not only will it open doors for you, it's the things that will keep you